Welcome to the Profitable NDIS Provider Podcast, where we're joined by your hosts, Tanya Gomez and Paul Bryan. In each episode, we'll be sharing valuable insights and tips to help you turn your NDIS business into a profitable venture. So whether you're just starting out or looking to take your business to the next level, you've come to the right place. Let's stop surviving and start thriving.
Hi there, and welcome back to the Profitable NDIS Provider Podcast with your hosts, Tanya and Paul.
G'day Tanya. Look, today's a bit of a fun one because today we're talking all things business culture. We're talking about, knowing your business culture, knowing what, first of all, that means, but also knowing how to improve it and making a good business culture part of how you develop your business and grow.
Yes, I love talking about business culture because I really do believe that old adage that culture eats strategy for breakfast. I really think if you can have unless you are an entrepreneur that works solely by yourself all the time and you don't have anyone else that you work with, I think the idea of culture really does set the tone for how you translate the vision of your business into reality, how you create that vision, bring people on that journey with you, and how you ensure that you attract the right clients to you as well.
Yeah. Look, we are the Profitable NDIS Provider Podcast. So I'd love to ask you, Tanya, how does business culture help drive profits?
Well, as I said, I really think it creates your business as a standout in the marketplace. It really sets the tone for what you're offering, who you're offering to, and helps you to attract staff to you that want to do the same thing. If you don't have a business culture, you really can't grow your business because unless it's just you, we know that the most NDIS providers is on this model of providing support to many participants. That's how the model works. It is, the business model works on a margin between what you pay your staff and what the NDIS pay you, and you get the difference most of the time. That's the model. So you need multiple participants, and to support multiple participants, most of the time you'll need multiple people working in your business. And I think the number one reason that businesses can't grow and scale is that they can't find enough staff to provide that support. And the only way to keep staff, find staff, keep staff, engage and retain staff is by having a business culture that attracts those staff to you and keeps them in place.
Yeah, look, one of the things I've definitely heard over the last year is that staff are actually harder to come by than clients.
Yes, I've heard that you have to say no to participants more often than not because you don't have any more staff to support them.
Yeah. We mentioned before in another episode that, we talk about the difference between being a vanilla business or a hokey pokey business and,
yes,
my old ice cream adage. But your business culture is really like the flavor of your business. And when you know your flavor, your business culture, and that filters down through your staff, so it makes it easier to find staff who are looking for the culture that you have in your business, but it also attracts the clients that are interested in the way that you do business and the way that you do your services and all that sort of thing all ties into that culture, doesn't it?
Yeah, and it makes your marketing easier too.
So much easier.
So I think culture is actually the number one area that businesses, so I think there's a few hurdles in being an NDIS business. There is the registration process is a first challenge to enter unless you're an unregistered provider. Then once you're through that hurdle, finding your first client is a challenge. And once you've found that first client, scaling that one client to 10 clients is your next challenge. And when you've really got that, you then need to scale your staff from you to multiple staff.
Yeah.
And the way that you can keep those staff and scale those staff is by having an amazing business culture. So I guess my question to you, Paul, because you do this work with a lot of people, is what are simple ways to improve or drive culture as an NDIS provider that you've seen with your clients?
Yeah, one of the ways that I've definitely worked with some of our group members has been around really, that idea of knowing exactly who your niche is, how you serve. That's like the foundation of this. Who I'm working with, how I serve them, and how I operate my business is the starting point. But then you need to really understand that your staff, when your staff go out to a meet and greet, your participants that you're bringing on are essentially hiring your staff, not necessarily you.
Yes.
And so those staff need to have the same, direction that they want to go. They want to have the same feel about how they operate in your business, because otherwise there can be a lot of it can be disjointed between your business, the services that you're offering, how your clients are receiving their services. There needs to be a cohesive plan. So regular training is really key to that, and making sure that your staff have a really good idea of what's expected, because there is like a legitimate, this is what's expected of you, right? But this is also what's expected of how you operate. This is expected of how you talk to participants. This is what's expected of how you document what happened, throughout the day. And again, back to all the compliance. But what sort of things are the non-tangibles? Like, are you a fun business?
Yeah, it is. It is what you're talking about there is your staff being your brand ambassadors.
Yeah.
So that you need to be really clear on that brand, and the culture drives that. So yeah, being a fun business. In one of my business, we're an e-learning business, Strawberry Solutions, and one of our values is that we are rock stars, and we have a rock star award. But really, we do have literal rock stars in our business who are musicians who do things like voiceover and animation and other work for us. But we want to attract people who think that they are the best in the best. So in our advertising for new staff on Seek and on our ads and LinkedIn, we have in there what our values are, so that other people, if they think that this fits for them, and it might not, they might not want to be with a whole lot of people who think they're the best in the world. They might not want to be with people who are openly have the passion and attitude and the casual approach in the ads like we have. But we know that our advertisement to staff is as important as our advertisement to clients, and we want to make sure that it is written almost by the marketing department to be a marketing material to engage people who read that and go, that sounds like a cool place to work. I want to be with them. I don't want to be with the vanilla provider down the road where I'm all by myself. I want to be with the rock stars that are going to have some fun day to day.
Look, I've been working with a provider in Queensland who, she's a young business owner, and, she started providing services, and then she had some friends come on as support workers, and they just had a really fun, young vibe about the business, and they started attracting, people, younger participants who wanted to go out and have a good time and hang out with other young, fun people. And they opened their first SIL, and, that same vibe went through it. And so finding staff is actually not so much of an issue for her, because, the staff themselves promote the business.
Yes.
They're, when they're talking to other support workers who are in the area, then they're really they're going, oh, I'd love to work somewhere like that. Where you're looked after and there's people of similar interests and all that sort of thing.
I think that comes back to this reward and recognition as well, right? Really knowing what your staff want and how to reward them that's going to suit them. They might not be interested in, the really formal corporate approach of an annual gala dinner with an award ceremony. That might not do it for young, fun people. It might be, okay, well, at the end of the month, anyone who has met their metrics, whatever those might be, it might be satisfaction levels. For every survey that goes out to participants, for every participant that's happy at the end of the month, we're going to take you to a concert. We're going to, do a staff party together. We're going to, you can get to go with our next participant group on a cruise or to Vegas, or, whatever it is that fits with that business and that culture.
Yeah, one of the things that I've done with my team, and I'll include this in the show notes afterwards as well, but it's actually the staff value pyramid, and there's 4 main things that really employees are looking for in a business, and it's not just money. So one of the main things is, as you mentioned there, reward. Like, you've done something for us, great. Public thank you is actually one of the main things that people will stay in a business for.
Yes.
Also the recognition, yes, you've done this, thank you so much, I really appreciate that hard work, the extra shift you did, or the idea of, here's a bonus, or here's a night stay, or
Yes.
something like that.
Dinner voucher,
Dinner
movie
vouchers,
tickets.
exactly.
Doesn't need to be anything that expensive or outlandish
Yeah,
either.
don't pay for fuel, that's way too expensive. But but also the idea of rank. Like, people want to see a level of career development,
Yes.
junior support workers, senior support workers, team leaders, this sort of thing. People strive for more in general, and so when they can see a path that they can follow, they have more of a buy-in to the business, especially if it's a place that they feel welcome. And then the last thing is sort of that remuneration, the idea of what is the pay rate that they're getting, and that sort of thing. People will actually sacrifice a bit of pay to know that they are really well engaged in the business. They feel like they can grow
They're
there.
valued.
They're really valued, absolutely. And that really helps people feel secure in their workplace.
Yeah, and I think secure work in the NDIS is also something that can be a way to improve culture, because there is this bit of culture of that everyone is casual, that you kind of just give them the shifts that are left over, and I think if you're able to offer secure work to someone, even under a casual arrangement, but have that really good communication around when shifts are coming, why they might need to change, I feel like that is really something that when I'm interviewing staff as part of audit, people who seem to be happy in their work talk to me about high level communication, feeling valued, and being part of a team. They're the themes that come up time and time again. I feel secure here, I feel valued here, I feel that there's good communication from the levels above, and I feel that I'm part of a team. I have an identity here.
Yeah. Well, I'd love to know, obviously you have quite a number of staff in your business, Tanya. I'd love to know what you've done to drive business culture.
Yeah, so I've had multiple businesses over the years. I had my first business in my 20s that grew to about 3,000 staff before I sold it. I've run other businesses with hundreds of staff. My current e-learning business has about 40 staff. Provider Plus that I recently sold has about 40 staff, and Tanya Gomez Consulting has about 10 staff at the moment. So yeah, but how I drive culture is really around knowing my staff. I really do the vision piece, and I see my role in all of the companies as the person in charge of leading the vision. I'm the leader, I'm the one that the buck stops with, and so I like to lead by example. We've tried a few different things. We do reward and recognition in every company that I've been part of. So we do staff awards, we do social committees, we do end of year events. But I really feel that I try really hard. I'm not sure I do the best job at it, but I try really hard with the good communication. So we use the scaling up methodology in most of my businesses, and that has us doing daily huddles. We do weekly team all staff meetings. We do monthly whole company meetings to share wins and celebrate successes and look at our goals.
Yeah,
and we do quarterly meetings, which are called town halls, where everyone comes along and we share information between departments, so that if one department's so if sales is working on something and delivery is working on something, they might be in silos, especially because my businesses are mostly remote and I have staff from all over the world and clients all over the world.
Yeah.
So we come together once a quarter to do a town hall meeting where we talk about what are our quarterly rocks and objectives, where did we end up with the last quarterly objectives. We celebrate that, whether it be, we do a lot of Uber lunches where everyone gets lunch Ubered to them, and we do a hangout online.
Yep.
Our social committee that meets once a month, the last Friday of the month, our social committee meets, which is which is soon. And the social committee do an hour. Everyone is themed, and we do online quizzes together, and we win awards for that. And we really just try to foster a culture of, yes, we work hard and expect results, but we also really value our people. And we want to make sure that they know where their role in the business is, what's expected of them. The other thing that we do, which is part of the scaling up methodology, is we scorecard everyone. So we don't have job descriptions, we have scorecards. And our scorecard is made up of the 5 or 6 metrics that we expect every staff to have. And we grade them A, B, or C players.
Right.
And C players go on a performance improvement plan. A B player gets a training plan on how they're going to get better. And an A player gets a financial incentive at the end of the year if they can stay an A player. And our A players really love that, and it helps drive a high performance culture, because our A players notice if someone's a B player, and they don't want to feel like they're being treated like the B players.
Yeah.
They want to be rewarded for that extra effort that they put in to go over and above. And so we do scorecards. Some of my departments do it monthly, and some of them do it quarterly, depending. I leave it up to the manager of that department to decide how to best motivate their staff. Sales and marketing, as an example, metrics are really important and easy to measure, so we do it monthly. Where delivery is less easy to measure on a monthly basis, so we sometimes do them quarterly. And then we celebrate a lot. We celebrate with them together to try and create this culture of work hard, play hard together. What about in your businesses or in the clients' businesses you've worked in? What do you see that works really well with driving culture?
Yeah, look, I've had a couple of businesses myself, much smaller. Okay, so for instance, I've had a business with sort of 5 or 6 staff, and that was a number of years ago, and that was a trade-based business. But we had to be fun. It was one of those periods. It was a very difficult economic time, but we built quite a large business in that period. And I was all about fun. You know, every week we had a barbecue at the end of the day. And obviously it's a very different situation, but, you know, getting, 6, 7 guys around a barbecue, a couple of light beers because they had to drive home. But that idea of a tradie there was just exactly what they needed to just build that camaraderie, because we all worked all over the place. For myself now, working on my own with a couple of virtual assistants, and a couple of people around Australia as well, it's much more sparse. But the people that I work with know that I expect fun. As I said, I love things to be fun. I don't like being a part of things that aren't fun.
Yeah.
And so, when we do talk, there's always a level of levity in how we deal with problems, because problems come up all the time in a business. There can be, problem clients, there can be situations that aren't working how you plan them to, maybe something's happened. How can we operate in a level where there's no blame, but things get done? Right? And so when I'm working with some of my team, I make sure that they recognize that this needs to happen. This is an important thing that needs to happen. There's an expectation of what needs to happen, but it's also a level of I'll work with you to do this thing that may be a little bit more difficult or is becoming a problem, but let's make sure that we're also having a good time doing it, because if my team aren't having a good time, they're not wanting to hang around, they're not going to perform as well. And when my team, even in a difficult situation, are having a good time, things get done better, quicker. My clients are happier. And
it's about enjoying the job, right?
That's
enjoying what you do, loving what you do. Loving what you do is actually one of my values in my business. And I really do want people who love what they do, because I absolutely love what I do. And so if I've got someone who's doing this as a side thing, or this is something they're doing until they can do what they really want, that just doesn't work for me, because I'm all about supporting pathways, and I don't think you need to be where you are forever, but I want someone to come to work every day and be so grateful. I don't have to come to work. I get to come to work, and I get to do this amazing thing that I really love and am passionate about. And that brings, gratitude to everything that you do. And this idea of this building this team together, and the energy that brings turns it from, oh, I have to do this, and this drudgery. Sometimes I walk in, I do a lot of government work, and sometimes I work into some government departments where I might be training or coaching, or and I look at them and I think, I could not think of anything worse than doing a job every single day that I hated and
Yeah.
selling my soul for a paycheck. It's just not me. I have to love what I do, and I have to have fun with what I do. And I think that breeds a really good culture as well.
Yeah, look, I've spoken to a number of providers who, their staff are disengaged, but they do a really good job,
Yeah.
right? And a lot of that comes down to, they're passionate about the work that they're doing, but
Not
they
the
don't
organisation.
feel really connected to the organization. That's a problem, because you're always going to end up with that staff churn.
Yes.
People coming, I love working with these people, fantastic guests, but I really don't feel connected to business, so they leave, they go on somewhere else. It's problematic.
And that is, the NDIS workforce is mostly casual. It is geographically spread out. What does or what can employee engagement and culture look like in a business that might be all across Australia, regional and remote, one support worker in different areas? What can employee engagement look like then? And how do you build that relationship with your staff so that they feel like they're your brand ambassadors?
Yeah, look, a lot of that really comes back to that core foundation of, knowing your business culture, really understanding, again, to that niche. If you promote that you work with a specific, type of client, and you provide these specific services in a certain way, you're going to start with staff coming to you who are first of all engaged in that, right? But then also maintaining things in your business like communication.
Yes.
Making sure that your staff are really well equipped for everything that they need. When incidents arise, how are you helping them get through that incident? Are you supporting them, or are you leaving them on their own? All those systems and processes just need to be really simple.
Yes.
Right? I was talking to a provider in Sydney the other week where they were actually having a really hard time getting their support workers to fill in case notes.
Yes.
Right? Just that continuous, come on, please do it. You need to do it. We need this to happen. When we looked at it, it was actually just a really difficult process.
Yeah.
And, it took some of them like 20 minutes to go through and check all the boxes and do all these sorts of things, especially if you're doing a 2-hour shift.
Yes.
That's a lot of the time afterwards. And so we're on a process now of just talking to the team.
Yeah.
Feedback. How can we make this easier for you?
Yeah,
right?
I do pulse checks in my business, which is a 1 or 2 question survey that goes out each month. We get an 80% return rate, which we're happy with, and it's just 1 or 2 questions, and it's A or B. There's no text for them, it's A or B, but that really helps our HR team decipher who's happy and who's not happy, and target the people who aren't happy. And then each year we do a whole annual survey of everything, that asks all of the long questions that we look at. But I found that the pulse checks is really a good way to get feedback really quickly and easily, and to get people engaged with doing that process. And we were, over time we went from 1 question to 2, and occasionally we do 3 questions to try and do it. But we find that people engage with that now, and that we do get that feedback both ways, so that you can figure out what processes aren't working. And in the town halls that we do as well, we're constantly asking, what are your biggest challenges to do your work? What's going well and what's not going so well, so that we know on the ground what's happening to try and address those problems. Because if we can resolve those problems for staff, they comply with processes better.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's actually about providing a higher level quality of service as well.
I'll bet I could talk to any of your employees and they know where the business is heading.
Yeah.
They know what deliverables they have.
Yes.
But they also know what your dream for the business is. And so they're following in behind that, aren't they?
Yes, yeah, I would hope that they would. At least the ones who've been with us since our last quarterly planning. The new ones get it as part of induction, and we do reiterate it. But I think that reinforcing those messages, and one of my business coaches said to me once that Richard Branson's whole job between Virgin Group is to go in and talk about vision to everyone every day. That's his whole job,
Yeah.
is to set the vision and then communicate the vision. And that's what drives a culture, because everyone that is bought into that, and then hiring the right people and making sure you don't hire too many people at once, because your key person being manager or that level, they need to absorb and live your culture so that they can then live and translate that culture to your staff, and your staff need to know the culture so they can translate that messaging and that brand and that culture to your participants. And if you can do that at all levels, your business runs as a community. So I worked at Starbucks when I was a teenager, and Starbucks have an amazing culture, and I'll never forget it, because you're called a partner, not a staff member, because in America they get shares and here they don't. But they really make you feel part of the culture at a high level, because you're called a partner to begin with, you're addressed that way, you're given opportunities for feedback, you're promoted within, you've got a clear structure of how you, like you spoke of, a clear structure of how you go from I can't remember what they call, a trainee to a clerk, from a clerk to a team leader to a manager to a regional manager. They really clearly show you your pathway. They make it achievable and attainable, and you really feel proud to work there. The training was top notch, and I feel like it doesn't take much for NDIS providers to do that. They don't need a lot of resources or a lot of money. It's really about how you communicate and how frequently that message is communicated.
Yeah. One of the other things, and you just touched on it there, which was, how people see that progression in the business and how they buy into it there. One of the things that I do see coming up regularly is that some people are concerned if they put on, support workers in a certain area. They're worried that the support workers are going to steal a client and go and start their own business because it's so easy for them to do, right? But staff that are engaged, staff that love the work, staff that can see where the business is going and buy into that vision that you have,
Yes.
they stay, they input, they help the business grow, and they have a progression in that business themselves.
Yes.
Not everybody is designed to run a business.
Yeah, and people want to work. People work for people.
Yeah.
And they work hard for people they respect and like. And so I like that idea that they join a brand. People join a company because of their brand and their outward facing persona, but they stay in a company for how their direct manager makes them feel and how that relationship is. So if you've got support workers all around Australia, you really want to have a regional manager or someone that's in charge of that area that picks up the phone every now and again and says, how are you going? Yeah. Where are you at? How was that shift? It might be the rostering staff. It might be, I don't know who in the business is the right person depending on the structure, but that one-on-one personal communication is absolutely key to engaging people. And I've had a business recently where we lost a really key manager, and she decided to leave after 4 years to pursue something different. And it was very sad for me. She was one of my direct reports. And when she left, a number of her reports left as well. And it wasn't because anything had happened. It was that they had built a really strong relationship with her. Yeah. And people work for people. And I think we really need to really remember that it is all about how we treat people and how we make people feel. And all of that other stuff around career progression, pay, communication, all of that is managed with that one relationship they have with whoever that is in your business.
Yeah, whether a business is business to business to consumer, it's all human to human interaction.
Especially in the NDIS, because all of the workers are working with you because they want to work one-on-one or want to work with participants. Yeah. So they are driven by their heart. So the people you're working with and attracting to you want to make a difference in people's lives, and therefore you need to want to make a difference in that staff member's life. And how you treat that staff member, and if you make them not part of your family, because I don't think that's professional, I think we cut across a little bit of a line there, but make them feel like you are there to mentor and guide and coach them to be their best selves, to find where they're going to be in the future. And if that's at another provider, then you should be happy for them. But your part of their journey is mentoring, guiding, coaching them so they can be the best support worker or be the best support coordinator or whatever the role might be.
Yeah, look, and I think just having people in your business who you are connected with, not just on the end of the paycheck,
Yes.
right? And get to that certain point where you can't be connected to everyone. So you have to be connected to your management team who are connected. And it just becomes, for lack of a better term, a pyramid scheme. But, you know, at the top person is connected to the management team below them. The management team is inputting into the workers below them. And everybody is having that same business culture flow through. So I think a lot of businesses who start out having left, say, larger providers, get really worried about building a big business because they won't be able to maintain that culture.
Have all the admin stuff.
They don't have all that, and they're worried about becoming that machine that they left, that they didn't like.
Yes.
And so when you start knowing your business culture, knowing how you want to operate, start attracting those people to you, you're going to grow a business which maintains a person-centered focus all the way up, no matter how big you grow.
And being person-centered on your staff as much as your participants.
Exactly, yeah.
I think we've covered so much today. I think that was really great. And our next episode, we are continuing to talk about, not staff this time, but about ethical business practices.
Yeah. And I think that's going to become more of a requirement as time goes on, as, you know, the NDIS is, you know, that ever-changing dragon that we talk about. But, you know, as we look into being an ethical business, it's not just about profits, it's people. It's very much, you know, a people-focused industry. And it really needs to be, especially when you're dealing with, you know, the most vulnerable people in Australia, having ethical practices, not just an idea of this is what I do, but actually having these systems in your business to make sure it's part of how you develop.
Yes. And so tune in next Tuesday to hear us talk more about that. It's been wonderful talking to you today, Paul. Thanks so much for sharing all of your insights, and I look forward to speaking to everyone again soon.
Thanks, Tanya. Chat later.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Profitable NDIS Provider podcast with Tanya Gomez and Paul Bryan. We hope you found today's episode informative and valuable. If you enjoyed the show, please don't forget to subscribe, leave us a rating, and share it with others who could benefit from our insights. Until next time, keep thriving.